Crypto to buy now. Part 2. So after yesterday's video, more requests were coming in. So I want to kind of take a look at the altcoins that I haven't quite gotten through. So for those who missed yesterday's video, basically there was 22 altcoins that the community wanted me to kind of review and give my kind of thoughts on, you know, where we think the buy points are likely to be and where we think, you know, we might want to be, you know, accumulating. Obviously, this is not considered financial advice. You know, this is just my thoughts and opinions on the data as I see it. But if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that, guys. So if you want to do me an absolute solid favor, if you find this useful and informative, hit that like button. I do appreciate that. If you want to see more videos like this, comment down below the altcoins that you want me to cover in more videos like this. And okay, with all that said, done and out of the way, let's jump on into it, right? Because we're going to start where we left off, right? So we covered Gala, Engine, Rose, Ada, Crow, Zel, Vet, One, Link, and Solana yesterday, and we're going to just continue this list and see how far we get. I'll give myself about 30 minutes, so hopefully we won't have to go any longer than that, but we'll see. So we're going to take a look at XRP here. Very frustratingly, we are still, you know, trading sideways, actually slightly descending, in the same way that Bitcoin has been as well. Essentially, we've got a couple of different options. One, the top's already come in. Alternatively, the top hasn't yet happened here for this structure. And it's really hard to know exactly which way it can go. It can literally go in either direction, right? So it's important that if we are thinking about accumulation, not jumping the gun too soon, and likewise if we're trading, really consider what it is that we're doing and be confident in what it is that you're doing as well, because this is a very difficult market to navigate at the moment. So for trading wise, I'm trying not to do too much because it can turn on you very, very quickly. You take a look at the stochastic RSI right here. You can see how we've gone from overbought to oversold to overbought again. And all we've done is trade sideways, right? So Monday is going to be the decider into which is actually going to go on here. So for XRP, I do think the accumulation zone is a little bit lower than this. I do expect more downside like I do for Bitcoin. But the upside is limited in my opinion. Now, we have got the ability to go to about 52.09 based on the technical indicators and Elliott wave theory. However, I would say that a 46.59 is a more probable it's going to create a double top and then we pull back down. But again, we haven't got everything lined up for those kind of moves to the upside. If anything, the market is more likely going to pull back down than go on up. So as I said, trading becomes a little bit difficult. Now, if I actually bring this up into our daily, we do have, of course, our Elliott wave triangle. This is playing out quite nicely. Unpredictable E wave, of course, going down to about 33 cents. I actually anticipate pulling down more towards 25 cents. Maybe will be a little bit higher than that. Quite difficult to say a 100% certainty, but you know, I would expect us to pull back down in line with Bitcoin, and that's really the accumulation point that I have in my mind for XRP. I'm looking at like 90 or yeah, about 25 cents or so, something like that. It's possible that we even drop down significantly lower. I just don't think that's probable. So I'm really focusing in really on some of these key areas and where we've retraced to so far. And yeah, for me, I think about 26 to 25 cents seems to be an area that, you know, I think we are probably going to settle with. So just keep that in mind. After this, though, I would expect an impulsive structure, and that would take us on out of this journey. So for now, XRP is not a lot has really changed since I did the last XRP video on the channel. Essentially, we've just traded sideways, which is quite frustrating, but it can go in both directions. So just be a little bit cautious if you're looking to buy, and if you're okay just dollar cost averaging, that's okay. If you're trading, be very, very cautious at the moment. But let's take a look at AVAX. Right, we'll jump this down into our hourly chart, right? There's a lot of volatility going on in here. There's lots to kind of talk about, and obviously we've got that C wave coming down here. Now, what we want to do is we want to get a good understanding of where things are right now, right? And what that might mean going slightly further forward. Now, I'm going to clear up some of the noise that's on here at the moment so we can make a little bit more sense of it. But here you can see we have got a 5-wave drop taking us actually to this point. We move on up, and then again we've dropped right down. Now this could be a 5th wave low that's actually come in here. This would have happened 2 days ago approximately for AVAX. And if we actually take a look at this, right, we take that low point just down here and we take it up to that high point. We can see here that we actually are a little bit north of, let me just see if I've actually got that exactly where I need to, because it would be unusual But yeah, so we were a little bit north of that 1236. So it could be that actually we haven't finished this correction just yet, and this is actually a fourth wave move, and then we're looking to pull back down. But even this structure looks pretty good so far, moving on up on this chart here. But I wouldn't want to kind of say without, yeah, we've actually got overlap there anyway. So it's definitely not an impulsive structure. So if I was to map this out, I would say that our zones for these low points haven't actually come in yet, and we're going to be looking between 17.49 and $21. Okay, that little yellow box just there. Now with this, if I go ahead and just map it out, we've actually got a subwave count right here, and this is going to be the potential issue. If we do top this out right now and pull that back down, and we're taking it from here as well, this actually looks really interesting, because we've also got it like this: wave 1, wave 2, all of this being wave 3 up, and then even drop down further later. Okay, so the bottom might actually be really difficult to know exactly where that's going to go until this third wave finishes, if that is a thing. And obviously if that fourth wave then moves up higher, then that's just an ABC structure, which again you wouldn't normally expect to see in there anyway. But for now, let's just focus in on 17.49 to 21, and if it goes down any lower, then obviously we'll have to just pay attention to where that fourth wave lands before going down. But that's looking like a good accumulation zone at this moment in time for dollar cost averaging. Now if I do zoom out into, let's say, the 8-hour chart, and we bring this down so we can see it all. If we take the all-time high, if I can get it on the, I'll just have to click it from here, all-time high down to let's say $17.49, that's an 88% retracement. If we were to think about going down to lower than 90%, then we are dropping, you know, quite significantly from there. So I guess we would have to keep open minds as to whether or not that's going to pull back down even further. But we are pretty well inside this structure here. There's not too much to really talk about. We've got a good kind of ABC structure on the macro on this side. So A, B, and C. And this retracement right here is looking pretty good as well. And again, all of this might be a long-term impulsive structure, okay, that we just can't see just yet, because this might actually just be a part of a bigger move across multiple years. So keep an eye on AVAX. I would expect there's to be really good accumulation zones down here. Right now, $17.49 to $21, and then, you know, we'll have to see whether we get a small move up and then another retracement where we might move down to, let's say, $15 or lower, and then, you know, looking for the right structure to take us on out of here. But AVAX is looking pretty good. I like the technology. If you haven't done any research on it, it's well worth it. It's a fantastic protocol, so definitely do some research on that. Let's take a look at Kadena. So I'm not a big fan of this one. I mean, kudos to them for doing what they've done. It's just why do that in the first place, right? Why scale a proof of work when regulators already don't like proof of work from the energy consumption perspective? So, you know, hats off to you for doing something, you know, people thought wasn't done. I appreciate all of that, but it's overhyped in my opinion. So yeah, it's not one for me personally, but for those who are interested in Kadena, then obviously you're going to want to know where you might want to scoop up some good deals, right? So we can actually take a look at these retracements here, and we can actually take a look at this entire thing. KDA USDT even on Binance here. Now we haven't got a huge amount of data on Binance, so I might see if I can actually find one that is on KuCoin. There you go, that's one I've actually analyzed before. That has a lot more data to it. So in here on this hourly chart, you can see that we're already targeting out some of these low points. This does need to adjust ever so slightly. We're going to take this down to 77.46. Okay, so that's kind of the zone there, 77 cent 46. So I'm just going to bring that down to 46 there. And then on the higher end of things, we've also got this at $1.1044. Okay, so again, that is where we are kind of thinking, based on the high at the moment, where our fifth wave is likely to go down. If I actually grab that correctly there, we can bring that into this sweet spot. Now we have got this 86.5. Again, that's a Y wave on a 1-to-1 ratio on a different scale. So again, you know, tracking this in multiple ways. That's right slap bang in the middle here. So again, thinking about where we might want to accumulate in this 335 corrective pattern, ending, you know, anywhere really between 77.46 and $1.10. 110 is where my mind is at for KDA. So, you know, really good opportunities if that is your bag, if you think this has got some potential to it that I'm not seeing, then, you know, that might be something that you want to kind of focus in on and take advantage of, right? So think about that and do with that as you will. But for the most part, all that's looking pretty good. And I do expect us to, I mean, let's just remove that one. We don't need it. We're looking to kind of come down into these low ranges. That could be a good accumulation point. Now, if I come up into our 8-hour chart here, we can actually take a look at the reduction from the previous all-time high right at the top. And if we were to come down to those low points, we are talking 97% retracement. So this is really right in that low end, right? That is literally going to be the bottom, in my opinion, when it comes to retracements from all-time highs, right? You're talking high 90% retracements, like 96% retracement. So that is a really good place to think about dollar cost averaging if you think it's going to have you know, the ability to stay around for a period of time. Let's jump over into 𝗕𝗀𝗀. So the channel sponsor, obviously, 𝗕𝗀𝗀. Now, they have actually seen a fair amount of volatility recently as well, along with the rest of the crypto space here. You can see that I have targeted this out at 25.5 to 30 cent. On that 1-to-1 ratio, or actually on that kind of fifth wave, it's overextending. That's exactly what's going on there. So I'm expecting it to move down quite a bit lower yet. So we are currently trading at 44. I'm expecting it maybe to even go down as low as 25.5. And this is in a fourth wave move right now. So we could see this thing pull back down, overextended here all the way from the top there. So we were looking at this this move to be completed about 67. But inside here, we can see we have this huge drop, this fourth wave formed right now, and then we'll pull back down into that lower fifth wave. So for 𝗕𝗀𝗀, yeah, there definitely seems to be some opportunities to be had at a later date. We're talking about, you know, dropping down reasonably significantly. Again, you're right in those 96% retracement zones. So I don't know how long you're going to live down there for. You know, timing isn't going to be something I'm going to be able to do, but this is a seriously good amount of retracements for maximum appreciation at a later date. But again, that principle remains. Only invest in projects that you think are going to last the test of time, right? Not all altcoins are going to survive a bear market scenario. I'm not saying that 𝗕𝗀𝗀 is one of those. Obviously, they're a channel sponsor, so I don't think they are. I think they're going to be around for a while. But it's important that you do your own research and do not just FOMO in on what, you know, a particular influencer is saying. Same with KDA, right? Kadena. I don't think it's a protocol for me. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't go ahead and do your own research and prove me wrong. Okay, and you know, go ahead and do that. And if you can prove to me that KDA, for example, is worth an investment, then I'm all ears. I just haven't seen the angle where I think it is. And you know, for 𝗕𝗀𝗀 here, I do think it has some serious potential as a layer 2 for Ethereum. So you know, when we were in Matic, you know, at less than 1.5 cent. Getting in there, and you know, you're looking at 𝗕𝗀𝗀 at these kind of low levels of 25 cent, you might think, well, that might be a fantastic deal and we might go up further, but do your own research. Let's go into 𝗕𝗘, as I like to call it 𝗕𝗘, because 𝗕𝗘 would just make a lot more sense for a name than 𝗕𝗘. But there you go. It is what it is. But here we can obviously see we have got some significant retracements going on. We've got a lot of overlap here on the daily, but let's take a look at this on our slightly larger time frame. So we never actually hit that high that I was targeting out back in April. That is unfortunate, so we'll go ahead and remove some of that noise there. But we do have this 5-wave drop, right? And we can see here we got 5-wave drop, we then moved up, and then we dropped all the way down here. This is making this our 4th wave on a macro scale. So again, this is a much deeper impulsive structure moving down, and we can see how that's likely to go as we kind of finish this one. So if I zoom in on this, here we can see, if I pull this down to that low, take it up to the high right about, come on, I know you're there, there you go. Just put that back. Let me just move the 4 out of the way and make sure that's right. Yeah, that is cool. So here we can see a good area for accumulation of 𝗕𝗘 if we want to. So, you know, this is not T-Fuel. This is actually the cryptocurrency rather than the gas token, that kind of thing. But, you know, here we have this going down to about 80 to 93 cent, right? So a good accumulation zones to be had here inside this last little move down. And it looks like we're actually forming that last little move right here in this triangular pattern on the hourly. So you can see right here, as I kind of throw this up, right there, you can see that we have this little triangular wedge. They're more than likely going to break down from here and come into this low range, probably the upper end based on the scale of this. So this is looking like we are probably going to be, that's our third wave low. That's got to be 1, 2, 3. This being 4, coming down into that 5th final. But it is also possible that we can take this and think that we might come down to the lower end if we end up with an additional 5-wave structure. So for example, I can see we have this here as a move that might end there. Then we might move up a little bit, and then we might drop down even to the lower end, right? And we have actually a 5, 3, 5, 3, 5 all inside this little 5-wave move. So in terms of perfect structures, that's exactly it. So I would probably be saying hold out to the lower end of the spectrum here, and do expect some volatility and moves around a little bit. But yeah, for the most part, I would be looking at this thinking that we're going to hit these low areas, and that's going to be the accumulation zones for 𝗕𝗘. But yeah, looking pretty good. And I do think there's going to be some fantastic gains made in the longer term. However, like always, do research. I wasn't exactly impressed when I researched 𝗕𝗘 a while back in, I think, late 2020, early 2021, just with how they onboarded people. I thought it was a bit too centralized. But if things have changed, which they probably have, let's be fair, and I don't know about the growth of the platform either, but if it's doing well and you think there's a lot of potential there, then this might be one for you. Let's move over into 𝗘𝗘 here, right? So 𝗘𝗘 has a lot going for it, but I think it also gets misled quite a bit in terms of, let me actually just, in fact, there's a lot of noise going on there. But what I mean is, like, they did a lot of work for Cardano and kind of things that are going on in that ecosystem through the wallets and stable coins and things like that. And I think it's a fantastic protocol. It just doesn't really get spoken about too much. But obviously because of that, and because it doesn't have that in the same way that Cardano doesn't really get that hyped up approach from many influencers, you find that it tends to suffer quite a bit. But that being said, I still think we've got some opportunities here. We can see quite clearly that we've got some wicks on this. And again, it's highly volatile because it's more of a micro cap coin, but you have that ABC structure there. And again, that is actually looking like a pretty good place to kind of think about what is going on. Let me actually just tidy up some of this on this side. In fact, I'm going to remove some of the noise as well, just from here, and I'll remove that, and I'll remove this for now, and we'll get rid of that. Okay, and so what we're looking at here is all this kind of move to the downside, where we can see that this is a low point and we bounced on up. But I would actually be taking a look at this, thinking that this is probably this is either a very, very corrective, right? As in, this is a giant A, small bounce, and then C, like that. Or considering a slightly more aggressive stance to this, we might be looking at it more as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And more of like maybe a diagonal of sorts. Either way, I do think we are going to be moving on down. Now, if we focus in on this area here, and what I would do is I would be being pessimistic considering the rest of the crypto space. I would probably be wanting to take a look at it from the 1.618 area through to the 1.236, and treat it as if it were a 5th wave, right, following the rest of the market. So if we would assume kind of a diagonal approach to this, then essentially that would be what I'll be looking at. I'll be looking at basically 5.6 cent all the way up to as high as 7.2 cent as the accumulation zone on 𝗘𝗘. So I do think there's some opportunities here to kind of be had. But again, there's also a way that this might be done, and that might be the low. But I don't think that's necessarily what we're going to be looking at here. And if we were to take a look at it, maybe as ending in a zigzag pattern, then we would have basically this as our kind of ABC structure, and it would take us right into this sweet spot, I believe. And let me just go ahead and take that low and take that high right there, move over to the wick high here. The 1-to-1 ratio would be 5.9, so it would put us right inside that sweet accumulation point anyway. So even if this is a 5th wave or a C wave low, essentially we are talking about the same places, right? The zone that we want to be focusing in on is going to be 5.65 through to 7.23 in my opinion. But that's 𝗘𝗘. That's kind of what I think is going on. That's kind of the zone that we're looking at there. Let's take a look at 𝗕𝗓. So 𝗕𝗓, actually, our accumulation zone is a little bit lower, but we were expecting to push up higher first. So if we don't actually hit those highs, which is possible that we don't now, and we end up with just this yeah, it could just be that we actually ended up with this structure here finishing at this high point. And if that's the case, I will just adjust, because I think that's probably what's gone on here for 𝗬𝗠. And on that ground, we would actually just higher up our targets ever so slightly. Let's go ahead and move this on to 5425 on the higher side. And then the lower side would be a low of 46 flat. Okay, so that would be putting our kind of buy zones right there between 46 cent and 54.2 cent. That would be then marking our low of our Y wave. On our greater scale, that's in the 5-wave move, basically making the entire thing a 335 structure, finishing right about there, and then we can move on up. And obviously we have to bear in mind it wasn't too long ago that we were knocking on the door of $2, and we've dropped down quite significantly. If we just pull up into the 8-hour chart here, I say $2, I think we're actually all the way up here at yeah, actually, yeah, it was about here. Yeah, $2. We actually kind of come up to that high point and then pulled back down. But we were as high as $5.89. And I think once we actually complete this bottom and we finish it completely, we'll be then looking at that progression to the upside. Now, what is unfortunate is we actually had a really good structure coming on up as we hit that that really high point, which if I kind of zoom in here, if I can find it, I think it was like $1.96. Yeah, $1.96.8. So, you know, really important that we kind of note that we pull back down reasonably significantly. But those 5 waves there are an interesting pattern, because you wouldn't normally expect to see 5 waves like that. But again, micro cap coins, they don't always follow the rules perfectly, and we have got this 5-wave structure coming down here with our 4th wave, I think, now complete. We should be looking at 46 to 54.2 cent on that one. So let's take a look at AGIX, considering we're talking the same family. Again, we've still got this structure here, and we actually have hit that high point, which means we have got our structure here now aligned. Which basically means that we are talking about 45.7 to 51.6. That is the accumulation zone that I have for AGIX, which is a really good place to kind of think about, you know, jumping maybe out of AGIX and reaccumulating, or, you know, just thinking about dollar cost averaging at this point. But do bear in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice or anything like that. But all I can do is give you my thoughts and opinions on the data as I see it. And I'll actually just go ahead and move that that wave one a little bit there to make it a bit more sense. So for the most part, we're looking pretty good on AGIX, and I expect big things in the future, considering everything that's going on with Cardano. And artificial intelligence for me is a long-term play, but I think it's something that is going to be decentralized. And I think at the front of that, at the forefront of that, is Singularity Net. So really, really good stuff. I'm not going to talk about NewNet here because I can't really chart it, but again, another spin-off that is looking at computer resources specifically for artificial intelligence processes. And if you're not really familiar with NewNet, you should definitely check that one out as well. Okay, we'll go into a few more. We've got Polka Dot here. Very similar structures that we've been talking about time and time again. I'll just tidy this up, remove these fibs out here for a moment, and you can kind of see we've had this kind of V-shaped bottom, and then we start to cascade back down again. My lows on this are right the way down here, about $6.09, just based on a 1-to-1 ratio here of a bigger move. This is something that I was talking about for a very long time ago, and it was one of those things where I wanted to be wrong about going down as low as we were, but everything was flagging to us that there was a lot more downside to Polka Dot than upside, and it was really unfortunate. But that being said, I still believe long term that Polka Dot's going to do really well, even though the performance in 2021 wasn't brilliant. But for this, I would be looking at coming down towards this $6.09, and that's just the 1-to-1 ratio on the macro scale. But if I do actually take a look at it on a micro scale, and we start thinking about this move up here, we can see a potential range here between $5.41 and $6.51. So again, right inside that sweet spot. Might just overextend the 1-to-1, but it'll be right in that little area there. Now, if I bring this up into our hourly chart, you can see the structure of this and how it is pretty much following the rest of the crypto market at this point. So I would be looking and really focusing in on that range of $5.41 with emphasis on $6.09, because again, you can just fall into this range and then bounce from it straight away. You don't have to go to the lower side of things, which is why these ranges are really important. Let's take a look at Matic as well. As I said earlier, right, we bought Matic when it was like 1.5 cent way back in 2020, and you know, it's performed incredibly well. It was probably one of the front runners of our portfolio I think, which drove about 42,000% in 2021. I think it's going to do well, but it has obviously pulled back down very, very significantly. Now, just like many of the other altcoins that I've spoken about, it's possible that we're still tracking upwards. And, you know, for the most part, I will be looking at 75.3 as the area of resistance. It's also possible we've already topped out and we're just slowly working our way down. Now, the zones for this, if I actually just remove some of these noisy areas here, and I actually go ahead and take a look at this, just like the rest of the crypto space, we'll take that measurement, we'll focus in on the 1.236 to the 1.618 just down here, and we can see what we are talking about, maybe moving down to 38.9 up to about 45.5 on that scale. And again, you know, we are talking about this being a fourth wave. So if our fourth wave has already come in, that's kind of where our targets would be. And we can see that as our fifth wave move down here. I'll actually just bring this in right into that sweet spot there. Now, if I bring this up into an 8-hourly chart, for example, you can kind of see the scale of this thing and how that's kind of pulled back down. You have that third wave move, and it is possible that we haven't finished that third wave, but I think that we probably have. But if not, then actually we're going to go down lower afterwards. So for example, if I just delete that fib that I drew on there for a second, and in fact I'll remove that. If we actually remove that third wave down lower and I just do this across here, for example, what we've got is actually just remove this as well. Okay, so we have this as our wave 2 of our macro move, but there's also this sub wave count, and it's possible that we've had an overextended third wave in the market, meaning that we are going to hit this, and then that is your wave 3. Okay, meaning we move up, we get a bounce for a bigger wave 4, and then, you know, we pull back down deeper into a wave 5. This is a very possible scenario that could play out, not to scare people unnecessarily or anything like that, but something that we need to be aware of. We might buy down here, we might then review the data at this point and be like, we need to jump back out and accumulate again later, because this thing's going to crash again, right? So it's about understanding the probabilities, and for the case of Matic here, looking at that sweet spot that I just said, 39 to 45 cent, would be a good place to accumulate. But if the time comes and we haven't got the right structure and everything is telling us that we're probably going to crash down again, then we jump out and we jump back in, right? Whatever your strategies are. And jump in our Discord server if you are unfamiliar with the different kind of strategies. Chris talks about strategy all the time, and so do I. And there's lots of different ways that you can employ this, but basically you're trying to leverage the probabilities here, right? I'm mapping out the psychology of traders here. We're likely to see a reversal at this point. And, you know, we don't know if that's going to be a fourth wave or whether or not this is all done at that point, and then we move on up. But if the structure here is correct, we would be looking at coming down significantly lower later, but we would have to bounce up first beforehand, and that gives us again additional opportunities in this space. So do watch out for those things. And again, this principle is pretty much similar to most. Some of them aren't as clear as it is here for Matic, for example, but many of them are, of course, you know, following a very, very similar pattern. Now, guys, I'm going to leave the video there. I've been going on for about 30 minutes now. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.